Welcome back to my cozy corner of the internet. I'm Mayastar, and this is the Mayastar Podcast. Today is episode 32 in the Mayastar Unscripted series, and we're going to be discussing Kundalini Reiki. I'll be answering some of the most common questions on Kundalini Reiki and looking at ways you might want to incorporate this energy healing modality into your regular spiritual practice. As usual, I come armed with notes but without a script. So we'll be meandering around these topics and pursuing the scenic route to enlightenment. If this sounds interesting to you, stick around and while away the next half an hour or so with me as we explore these things together. Find out about the different ways you can work with me and discover my energy healing and spiritual development courses by visiting my website at mayastar.net, where you can also join the Mayastar mailing list to stay up to date with the latest special offers. Kundalini Reiki is one of the earliest courses I started teaching through Mayastar Academy, and it's one of the most popular. Even now, it's one of the most popular, probably second only to Usui Reiki and the Violet Flame, and it's a unique system in energy healing. People often think of it as being similar to Usui Reiki, but it really isn't. It doesn't really have any similarities with Usui Reiki, aside from the fact that it's passed on by energy attunements. The Kundalini Reiki is a series of 9 energy attunements. The first 2 of these attunements are to balance and activate the chakra system within your energy body. And then the third attunement is to activate the flow of Kundalini energy, which allows you to draw energy up from the earth through the lower chakras, as well as drawing energy down through the higher chakras, the more high frequency, more subtle energies that come to us on a spiritual level. But we do need to combine these energies within our energy field in order to maintain proper balance. If the lower chakras are unbalanced, we don't have any way of drawing down those higher frequency energies. We don't have any way of manifesting them into any kind of healing or focus on our manifesting goals or whatever you're using the energy for. So if you find you have a tendency to lose your grounding when you're working with spiritual energy, then the Kundalini Reiki course might be a good option to help you bring things back into balance. Now, the energy for Kundalini Reiki can be very stimulating. It's a great energy to use for focus and to bring your consciousness back to your body. And that can make it a good option to work with in the morning to really get your day started and get your energy flowing, spark your creativity and get you set up for the day. whereas it's not the best modality to use for the evening because it can be a little bit too stimulating. It might prevent you from falling asleep so easily and that kind of thing. So I do recommend that this is an energy you work with earlier in the day, especially when you're first getting used to it. But back to the attunements, okay? So I said there were 9 and I've covered the purpose of the first 3. But the other 6 attunements are called the Kundalini booster attunements. And these strengthen the flow of Kundalini energy beyond the attunement so that you're able to fully integrate the attunements you've had, but also increase the flow of Kundalini energy up to the level that you're able to channel at that particular time. And the amount of energy that you're able to channel will depend on the balance of your energy body. As long as you are able to maintain your grounding, then you're able to channel more energy in one session. If you're not able to ground it, then the flow would be quite limited. So the booster attunements are to bring you into alignment with your maximum capacity for channeling the energy. But that will change over time. The more you work with Kundalini Reiki, the more you work with the system, the easier it gets to fully ground and integrate those frequencies. So over time, your capacity for channeling the energy will naturally increase as long as you're working with it. There isn't any shortcut to actually doing your energy work, but it does pay off if you are consistent. Another difference between Kundalini Reiki and Usui Reiki is the application method, because with Usui Reiki you're working with a structured system with hand positions that follow a sequence for each energy healing session, which is an excellent foundation for people that are new to energy healing, and it also provides a great framework for those who intend to offer energy healing sessions to the general public, because it allows you to time the session. There's a flow that works well for the client as well as the healer, because you start to know what to expect. You start to recognize the sequence of positions and the movement of energy. Whereas with Kundalini Reiki, there isn't that same structure. It's much more intuitive. And if you're giving yourself a healing session with Kundalini Reiki, you might just sit in the lotus position with your palms together without the need to go through any of the traditional hand positions that you would have with Usui Reiki. But at the same time, if you're attuned to Usui Reiki, you could use Kundalini Reiki during those sessions and complete your Usui Reiki treatment while adding some Kundalini energy at the end of each hand position segment. You can combine other systems with Usui Reiki in the same way, but you do need to be mindful of what's going to work best for the client. As I say, the Kundalini energy can be quite stimulating, and so clients that have issues around insomnia or anxiety may find it a little bit too much. It might be more difficult for them to integrate that energy. But there are other systems that you could combine with Usui in those cases, like the violet flame or the crystal rose. But if you're feeling drawn to use Kundalini Reiki in a healing session with a client, you might also just place your hands on their shoulders to administer the treatment. And obviously you can use this energy healing system remotely, so you don't have to place your hands on the client in order to deliver that energy. You can also, when you're sending healing remotely, do that through focus or by using a proxy. A lot of people used to use a Reiki bear, where they would have a soft toy that they used to sit in as the client while they were giving healing sessions. And it was particularly useful in Reiki because you would be going through the different hand positions as a sequence. So having the bear would be a good way to remind yourself of that flow of positions that you were working through. But you could also do that for Kundalini Reiki or any other energy healing modality if you felt drawn to. But another way you could do that is to simply write down the name of the recipient for the energy and use that as a focus, or just hold the piece of paper between your hands while you're channeling the energy, intending to direct it towards that person. Now, obviously, the person who's receiving the energy also has to be on board with that. They will need to consciously assent to receiving that energy in order for that to properly flow to them. But certainly Kundalini Reiki can be used for sending distance healing, as well as for in-person treatments and for self-healing sessions. If you're also attuned to the orb of life energy healing modality, and any systems that I'm talking about you can find on my website at mayastar.net. But if you're attuned to the orb of life system, that's a great option for setting up self-healing sessions in a sort of timed release fashion. You could program the orb to deliver the energy to you at a particular time, perhaps on waking or perhaps while you're having a shower or something like that. But then you can create the orb, charge it with the energy that you want to receive, and program the orb so that you're going to receive it at the time that's convenient for you. And you could also do that to create an energy healing transmission that you receive when you fall asleep at night. So that's another way you could work with Kundalini Reiki. Experiment with different ways that you can offer yourself healing treatments. But one of the other things I wanted to talk about with Kundalini Reiki is the ways you might use it in your daily practice, perhaps combining it with a practice that you're already observing. If you already have, for example, a yoga practice that you perform in the morning, or breathing exercises that you perform every morning, then Kundalini Reiki, because there's no hand positions or special way of applying this energy, it's essentially intuitive. you can easily bring it in with other practices you already have. So you'll be combining the effects of your existing practice with Kundalini Reiki without having to allocate extra time for your energy healing practice there. Now, with the Kundalini Reiki Master attunement, you also are attuned to several other Reiki systems that you can activate for specific purposes. These are all detailed in the Kundalini Reiki course manual, and I would encourage you to experiment with those different aspects of the Kundalini system, because they're a good way to help you to start to intuitively connect with the energies that are needed for a particular situation. One of the attunements is called the Balance All attunement, which is a good modality to connect with for your daily practice to bring everything into alignment and restore your energetic integrity before you go about your day. Perhaps that would be a good one to work with after completing the Kundalini fire meditation. There's also the Diamond Reiki attunement, which is to strengthen the flow of life force energy through your system. That's more of a pure white spiritual light, high frequency energy attunement to connect with. So that might be a good energy to work with when you're opening up for a new session, to activate the higher chakras and strengthen your sensitivity to subtle energies. There is also the DNA Reiki attunement, which can be used to activate and heal the energetic equivalent of your DNA coding to help restore your energy and your energy body to your original energetic blueprint. So bringing you back into full alignment and a deeper connection with your spiritual source. So I would definitely recommend that if you are attuned to Kundalini Reiki, you experiment with those different facets of Kundalini Reiki and try out some different techniques for sending healing to yourself and healing to others. One of the most common questions I get with Kundalini Reiki is whether it's an alternative to Kundalini Yoga or whether it's something that should be used alongside Kundalini Yoga. But there's no hard and fast rule in that regard. Some people find Kundalini Yoga and sort of push them to activate those energies before they're ready. And if you are one of those people who has found Kundalini Yoga a bit too intense and destabilizing, then switching to Kundalini Reiki for a period of time can help you to fully integrate the energy that you've activated through Kundalini Yoga. But also it's a great energy to connect with while you're working with Kundalini Yoga. So it doesn't have to be an alternative. It can be something you do at the same time. But if you find Kundalini Yoga too intense, then Kundalini Reiki can be something that will be a more gentle approach to Kundalini activation for you. Some people think that Kundalini Reiki is a safer approach because you're more likely to have a successful process, although it may take longer, you're less likely to run into problems of an incomplete Kundalini activation, because the energy healing is more gentle, but also is comprehensive, and it builds upon itself. So you're not going to be pushing yourself to connect with those energies before you're ready and failing to ground them, because you have to balance out your energy centers when you're working with this energy, and that's part of the attunement process. And as I say, the more you work with it, the more you're going to increase your capacity for channeling that energy. So over time, it will become more and more powerful for you to work with. But again, it's not forcing the energy upon you. It's a channeling process where as you are receptive to the energy and you're able to allow that energy to flow out of you, you become a clear channel for it. So I've had a lot of feedback from students over the years who didn't get along with Kundalini yoga and found Kundalini Reiki a powerful alternative. But as I say, it doesn't have to be an alternative. It can be something you work with at the same time if you're drawn to Kundalini yoga as a practice. But you could combine it with other forms of yoga as well. Okay, let me check my notes. I'm sure I've got another question down here. Where is it? Where are we? Can the Kundalini fire meditation be used for clearing energy blocks? The answer to that is yes. Kundalini Reiki is excellent for clearing energy blocks. It's a very fast flowing energy, and sessions with Kundalini Reiki don't have to be very long. Like as I said before, the Usui Reiki system works with a sequence of hand positions, and that means that an Usui Reiki treatment takes about 60 minutes, whereas a session with Kundalini Reiki can take between 5 and 20 minutes. They don't have to be long sessions. And that's because the energy is very intense and fast flowing. And that does make it a good energy for clearing energy blocks. But in particular, one of the attunements that you receive with the Kundalini Master attunement is for crystalline Reiki. And that energy is particularly powerful for clearing blocks and residual energetic debris within your energy field. So if I were to work on clearing blocks specifically with Kundalini Reiki, that would be the energy attunement that I'd be connecting with for that purpose. I'd probably also follow that up with the balance all attunement to bring myself back into alignment at the end of the session, and then finish off with the grounding visualization, which you'll find in the ebook that's provided to Mayastar students, the Book of Inspiration, which includes a grounding visualization that I recommend for students to use at the end of their energy attunements and at the end of any sessions when you're working with those energies. So I think that's covered everything I wanted to discuss today about Kundalini Reiki. And I'm going to be using this podcast to talk about different energy healing modalities over the coming weeks. So if you have questions or there are specific energy healing modalities you'd like me to discuss in detail, any of them that you can find on the Mayastar website, I'm happy to talk about, then let me know in the comments and I'll bring those up the list and address them earlier. But I also want to tell you that I'm very sorry that there was such a big gap in these unscripted episodes. I had to take a pause on them in 2023 simply because I couldn't accommodate the work. It gets to this time of year, sort of October, November, it becomes really busy in a magical sense. I do a lot more temple work at this time of year because generally, energetically, there's a lot going on, and it's a time when people feel called to address those issues that have accumulated over the year, sort of preparing yourself ready for the new year. So now is a time when people are often drawn to clearing negative karma and addressing their healing needs in preparation for the coming year. So I had intended to take a few weeks off, but then what happened was I got COVID at the end of 2023. And although it wasn't bad, I literally only had a headache for a couple of days and then I felt better. But somehow I just felt really tired. And at the beginning of January, like my focus just wasn't back to normal yet. It took several weeks. And although I'd planned to start making the unscripted videos again in January this year, I just didn't get round to it. It's like I put it off for an extra few weeks and then got waylaid dealing with other things. Had a lot of technical stuff to work with on my business this year. So it was, I've not been sitting around twiddling my thumbs or anything, but I did get busy with other things. But it has allowed me to think about what's going to be manageable. And I think that's one of the problems, was that I was making video episodes for the podcast. And although I'm sure some people prefer the video podcasts, the editing process is so much longer that it's very difficult to accommodate it without sacrificing something else. So I've decided to restart the podcast this year, and the episodes will have to be pre-recorded so that I can schedule them alongside the other videos and everything else that I do. But you can also stay up to date with all the updates. I've relaunched the Maya Muses blog, and the Maya Muses blog has also been neglected. Now, the Maya Muses blog has been neglected since I rebuilt it, and that was when I was transferring it from Microsoft front page software to new software. I didn't bring across all of the pages because, that a lot of that information was out of date, and also somehow I messed up the format of the way the website was saved, and none of the pictures appeared on the pages. Like, all the pictures were in a folder, but they weren't connected onto the individual pages. It would have been so much work trying to put the pictures back where they belonged that in the end I just didn't transfer those pages. And so now what I've decided to do is I've relaunched the blog. So that's where you can find the most up-to-date mystical musings, because I'll be updating that every week with my mystical musings and with the energy update reading. And so that's on blog.mayastar.net. But I'll also be copying across some of the older pictures to decorate it. So if you've been around for a while, it'll have a familiar feel to it for you. It also means that I get to choose the pictures that I liked best from the old website. And it's going to serve as inspiration, I'm sure, for future updates on the Maya Muses blog. I think that's everything I wanted to discuss today. Let me just double check my notes. Oh, one more thing. On the Mayastar website, I was going to recommend, if you wanted to learn more about Kundalini Reiki, there is an energy healing article for Kundalini Reiki. Let me just find it so I can give you the actual. Actually, I think, let me find the address for it. Yeah, so if you go to mayastar.net/Kundalini article.htm, that is a detailed look at Kundalini energy, how Kundalini energy works, covers a few more questions, and it also includes some of the things that you can use Kundalini energy for if you want some more inspiration in that regard. So I definitely recommend checking that out if you want to read more about this subject. And that's everything we're going to be talking about today. I hope this episode has been interesting, and I hope you're going to be leaving this episode suffused with good vibes and great ideas. If you want to hear some more from me, check out some of the previous unscripted episodes on this podcast. And as I mentioned earlier, for the most up-to-date mystical musings, check out the Maya Muses blog at blog.mayastar.net. I hope you've had a good week, and I hope you're about to have another one. And I hope to see you back here next week for some more mystical meanderings with me. In the meantime, I wish you peace, prosperity, and progress in all you do. With blessings.